good sort of morning. It's almost noon anyway. We're local today. It is May 24th. It's a long weekend, so we're gonna kind of do a rolling video all weekend, just more freeform because I'm just gonna do it that way. Today we're local. We're gonna walk through a part of the area we were in last week, and then tomorrow I'm gonna be in Vermont, and we're gonna get deeper into an area that I have not yet been in, and hopefully that will go smoothly. That's the plan for today. So I'm going to keep this concise and get right to it, only to spare the camera the rain. We're kind of in a weird cloudy, sun on, sun off, pre-summer rain thing right now, even though it's like barely 60 degrees. But it's been a weird week for weather too, and we'll think about what we want to update as we do this. So that's the plan, and let's see what happens. Thank you. So no sooner than I'm making my way along the southern end of a loop, a trail or a hiking loop here, with all the lovely ferny goodness. The rain has begun, and where I said it was off and on, it's like on. It's kind of stunted because I'm under some tree cover, which is helping, but it's giving me some interesting similarities and flashbacks to when I got lost at an area probably 8 or 9 miles that way, and it's wet, and it's like a slow creeping wet that seeps into like a fleece or something, and then if you stop it, it doesn't even really have to be excuse me, that cold. Like upper 40s and into the 50s is plenty for you to start risking hypothermia if you don't get out of it or keep moving or something, because if you hold up and hunker down, the shivering starts. That's when shit gets a little bit more real with hypothermia. And even today, it's mid to upper 50s. Still not outside the realm of possibility if you were to have those conditions. So there's a guy in Fairfield County who seems like he's new to the subject, and excuse me, is operating on that end of the state doing things. And I'm throwing this out to Carl. There is an area just over the border into New York with some Bigfootery lore, and maybe at some point we should do a joint collaborative look around over there and see what we find. Talking about Nuclear Lake, an area in recent years I came into knowledge of. Been there once or twice, and it's an interesting area. That general neighborhood seems to be where he operates near, so God forbid the rain stops. I just thought I'd mention that, and I'm gonna again take a break just to keep the camera from getting soaked. And weather today is much of why I didn't go to Vermont today, because it's colder up there, and last night the S word was in the forecast. It's fucking May. Anyway, I'll be back in a bit. Like I said, rolling kind of a freestyle video for the weekend, so it's going to be what it is. Pretty scenery, rain. I'll be back in a bit. Here we are at an interesting spot because we are literally right now at a weird little side trail that is on the Mass-Connecticut state line. Case in point, Mass, Connecticut. In the old abbreviation of CON as opposed to CT. But that little stone wall right there is the bulwark that keeps you massholes out of our state. And I am kidding, by the way, but so lighten the fuck up. But that keeps the invaders out, even though the last time I was here, I did rat out a couple of dirt bikers who are here thoroughly illegally. Once they're down there and on this side, I don't know what the legality is over here. For a large part of this is private property. and the like. But once you're on this side, there is a freaking sign at the trailhead that clearly says there are no motorized vehicles in here, because this side at least is a wildlife management area, and you cannot be in here disturbing wildlife on that. And yet people from the Massachusetts side do it all the time, which is why I'm calling them massholes. And this is why I have such a special place in my heart for ATVers and dirt bikers. More so ATVers, because they never act like, they always act like the rules don't apply to them. And then they tear up the trail system and they are the problem. And then they whine like little petty bullies that they're the victim because they don't have anywhere to go chew the shit out of nature. And sorry, not sorry. You ruin it for everyone else, so nobody has any sympathy for you. So, on that note, I'm going to continue on my way, and we're going to, at one point, go down this trailway and see what changed down there, but we're going to go this way a little bit. And we'll see what happens from there. We will stop once we start seeing the posted signs, but I don't think we're quite there yet. That being said, I've never encountered anyone out here actively patrolling that, but still, it's private property, and therefore you respect the property line. As a matter of responsible etiquette, I've gone into a couple of dissertations in the past where, okay, this is interesting too, because you have these tracks here, and you have moose active in the area, but I also know for a fact last week there was somebody in here with a horse. You had an equestrian come through here on horseback, taking their horsey through here and enjoying a nice day in the woods. So it's just as possible those could have been horse footprints, because I've seen a few that were definitely like horseshoes, where it was the horse and not like a moose or something. Although I've seen moose prints right in the same very area, so. Could be either, could be a little bit of both. You never know. Maybe the horse and the moose met up face to face and made friends. You never know. I don't see why they would be mortal enemies. Ungulates usually are fairly chill with each other, I think, unless the moose has like brain worm or something, which is actually a thing, for those that did not know that. You ever see a moose that looks like it's acting batshit crazy? It may have brain worm, and that's when you stay the fuck away from it. I'm thinking these are the horse, though, because that looks like a horseshoe. And if you were looking at this one, that one would have more of a defined hoof print. This is more like a moose hoof print. They're different. It's kind of like a inverted deer track on steroids, where that is more than likely the horse. So like I said, last week, you had somebody bringing their horse through here, and I hope they had a nice ride through here. It is a nice area most of the times of the year. I don't know what kind of an icy hellhole this turns into in the winter. I haven't done a lot of winter hikes out this far, but might make things more interesting than you're willing to deal with. But anyway, let us continue on. We can track the horse while we go, but technically you're not really tracking a wild animal because it's a horse. And I saw it come in on a horse trailer, so it's not like you have any feral thing. He was with his human, and they were having a nice day out, and hopefully they did have a nice day out. This time of year, this is kind of a stream bed, and if you were in the middle of an active downpour, you have to watch this, because you can see it's already, this could flood. It probably does flood. So you kind of have to watch that. Anyway. Yeah, I don't mean to rag on the rant factor, because that wasn't really what I wanted to do today, but my comments on ATVers, they stand. Unless you're out there actively like doing an SAR or something, which when I got lost, there were people on there doing the SAR looking for me for a bit. Them I appreciate. That's a different thing. Thoroughly different. But again, that was a moment of my own learned humility, because I did that to myself. That happened due to 110% my own arrogance. And a couple of shortcuts taken when I shouldn't have, and I paid for it. So that's why going forward, hopefully you learn your lesson and you don't do it again. Screw up due to me once, shame on me. Screw up due to me twice, well, Kev, what the fuck? But anyway, let us continue on. Down here where you see the opening up there, there's a large pond of sorts. And last I knew they were, I don't know if they were doing some development in here or not. There's you go a little further down and bang a left. This is part of a large hiking loop of sorts. There's kind of like a weird, or was 2 years ago, a weird homesteader situation there. I don't know what that situation is, but it's on the it's just kind of weird you would see that in Massachusetts because they don't usually have that homesteading reputation, but what do I know? And unfortunately, as much as I love to have this look like it's all remote, there's an airport not that far away, and you can hear the planes flying over. Coming in from the west and landing in Bradley. It's not that close, but it's not that far either. It's probably a half an hour from here. But when you're in a plane going at the speed of a plane, that seems to be not really that far away. The reason I'm following this, though, is it's tracking opportunities with all this lovely soft mud. If there's anything coming through here, it's a good place to check. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to go a little bit further, at least down to where that log is. That might be where the property line, maybe the property owner put that down to keep people out, although the nebulosity of the situation is, this, to my knowledge, is an established hiking loop, and it abuts his property, but it's never really been clarified. So I'm going to pay a little bit closer attention to that, and that's where we just came from, if you want to get a better look. And I'm going to take a little bit of a segment break so I don't kind of stray onto his land if I can avoid it, and then we'll kind of take things from there. But either way, I'll be back in a little bit as well. The sun's making an effort to come out now. Over the Mass line to the, I think that's just north. There's some gunshots going on. I wonder if that's a homesteader doing some target shooting or something. We went down to where the big flooded part of the trail is and then decided that, not really seeing the signs, I was going to just not go any further in there. We can look at this area instead. And this is effectively where we caught the dirt bikers the last time. I think it was like 2 years ago in October when that happened. It's been a while since I've been over this way, or this particular stretch of woods anyway, but yeah. Not sure what side of the state line we're on. We're straddling it. The marker kind of begins this little trail system, so I'm following it back a ways to see if anything's changed, really. I guess you'd call it I used to call these like a pattern sweep. It's almost like a patrol. Kind of see what has changed since the last time, if anything. And because interestingly enough, the other area where I was, I think it was in a different area. Either the last week or the week before, I was in an area where this trail, I think, eventually spills out to somehow. It's kind of windy and turny and such, but it ends up over there somewhere and pops out into a different trail system, which there's apparently a lodge of some kind deeper over there on the Mass side. And there's ATV trails, and if that's private property, that's one thing, because that's private property. If that's what its intended use is, that's one thing. Okay, trail. Where'd you go? Because, like I said, it's been a few years since I've been through here. And interesting mushroom, probably good for a campfire if you ever got stuck out here, but you're not that far away that you ever would. Unless you're really bad at this. Does this turn there? Because if it does, thought I went further up into this, which is what I'm looking for, but yep. So I'm on the wrong side of the trail, but to that end, does this go off in a different direction? And this goes in a so again, is this an actual offshoot of that trail, or does this kind of goes off a ways? So for the sake of giggles, we're going to follow this one for a bit. Because I think last time I went up on the other leg of the trail, and I don't remember last time I went this way. I think this might actually be the trail that leads over the other way, because it does like this windy, turny thing, eventually spilling out over there. But anyway, at least I'm not ranting today. I don't really have a lot to rant about. It's a long weekend, and I purposely want to leave that behind and kind of move into just being out in this and see what, if anything, we find. And even though this area is probably quiet, I want to look at the quick scenery in here. Got a lot greener when the sun came out. I would say that we go back in time to 2015. I was in an area in Vermont where I didn't expect anything to happen, and there was a rock throwing incident with something fleeing the scene after it thought it was having its fun with me. And that led to, I'm trying to remember the sequence of events, because I think it was a year later in that same neighborhood that I had an actual semi-confrontational encounter with I believe the female of the family unit group that I've had a few run-ins with. And in case anyone's not getting the code, yes, I'm talking about Bigfoot. That October, I was there, and I had a full-on confrontational encounter that caused me to leave the area for concerns of safety, because if you read about the progressively more intimidating kind of displays that a primate will show before the actual attack comes, that was the pattern that was happening, and it was time to go, because there were two of them. I saw a second one, and then one of them followed me for about 20 minutes to make sure I was not staying in the area they didn't seem to want me in. I don't think it was a predatory response. I think it was a territorial one. And that was kind of a fucked up day, if I'm being blunt. I don't know how far I'm going to walk this back, because the other one's marked. This one just kind of goes a ways. But I think I know. Actually, I have been on this. I just haven't been on this trail in a number of years. But this is the windy one that goes over. I kind of know where this goes. It just takes its sweet time getting there. Kind of a windy, turny trail that goes through the middle of this stretch of woods and comes out in the Tribog area, if you're willing to walk a couple of miles. Who knew Connecticut had woods that go for a few miles? But once you get up to the state line like this, it is a different world than south of this area. Yeah, just kind of walking the trail back a little bit. I smell another segment break coming on. I don't want to rant about any kind of thing, and I'm trying to deliberately avoid that today. We all know of my love of ATVers, and let's just leave that there. I'm actually finding this kind of like a peaceful area. That's exactly when you have the rock throwing shit happen, too. Because that's kind of where I was. I was kind of walking along and kind of daydreaming when the rock bounced in front of me, and then kind of where did that come from, and something jumped up and ran. Like October the next year, there was something. It's a weird thing when you walk into an area like this, and the minute you're like anywhere near where you think it's going to happen, the prickly little hairs on the back of your neck just stand up because you have absolutely no doubt you are being watched. It's not a matter of wondering. It's like on that day, I had literally no doubt. And just as I got a little too close, there was a burst of leaf litter off probably about 100 feet into an area like that. And then you just see the big thing jump up and run off that way. And, you know, a lot of people would have been shocked, but I was literally almost more like, I knew you were there. Thank you for confirming. And that was the first of two I saw that day. Having an interesting, what's that over there? He had a tiny little, what is that? Is that a vole? What is that? Some kind of small forest rodent. What are you? That's your burrow goes down there. Okay, whatever. Little wildlife encounter that was like a vole or maybe a field mouse, a dinky little forest rodent bopping around the forest floor. But he hid better than I really cared to look for him. I just wanted to see what he was. But all right. Just doing mouse shit, so he's not hurting anybody, really. Whatever. Yeah, so as you can see, this trail goes for a while. I don't know the legality of it. You could easily hammock or camp out here. Have relative peace as long as you weren't obvious. Because I know a lot of the... So, here's the thing about this particular stretch of woods. There's three areas. You have the state land, you have the MDC land, and then you have the private land. The private land, you're not allowed on if you're not a townie, and they will arrest you. They are not shy about that. State land, as far as camping, there's no signage one way or the other, so I would presume you're talking about stealth camping at that point, but honestly, I don't know what... I have found little fire rings out here, so people do apparently do it. MDC land I actually inquired about, and the response, as I've mentioned before, was a list of applicable fines and probable arrest. So if you get caught on the wetlands, they're gonna cuff you and stuff you, and you're probably looking at minimally a criminal trespass charge. I don't know how. I don't know if that's more. I don't know if that's like a citation and fine, or they cuff you and bring you to jail. I'm not sure, but I'm just as well not finding out either. So, not knowing by way of not knowing is fine by me. Anyway. I'm going to survey the surrounding area a little bit more. I'm going to... There's a tree break right there, likely from wind. I am going to take a segment break and then see how much further down this thing I want to go. I don't want to pop out all the way because I got to walk all the way back, because this goes for a ways. Anyway, I'm going to let you go for now, and we'll be back in a little bit. Today is Sunday. It is the 15th of May. We are in Vermont. We are heading to an area. We're going to try to get into an area I haven't been into before, and as I said yesterday, kind of a rolling freestyle video for the weekend. Today's day 2, and that's what we're going to do. So come on along and let's see what we find. Hopefully we'll get in there without any trouble, and that'll be that. It is a little bit swampier than I had thought, but it's been raining up here, so I guess it's par for course. Let's see what we find, though. Thanks. And we are here, making our way deeper into an area I was at, what was it, about a month ago or so, and it is same area where I'm pressing my luck. I got minorly lost for about 15 minutes the last time. I'm going to try to hug the water a little better this time, because the way in is essentially 3 conjoined beaver ponds, and simple enough theory is if you hug the water line, you know your way in, you know your way out. You just kind of mirror your way out that you came in on as best you can. And the problem is when you kind of want to avoid weird shit like that and go higher up, because sometimes you get further in because the wood line doesn't play games or doesn't play nice with your attempt to stay in a relatively straight line, minus the inevitable zigzag that's necessary to navigate some of this. But same thing if you're near a waterfall, if you can hear it, same principle applies. Can I get through this? Let's find out. See if I can kind of just go over this. This may seem squatchy related to you, but I'm kind of demonstrating a little bit the thought process. I'm going to actually go up and break my own rule of navigating this thicker underbrush stuff. And we're only falling back about 10 feet, so we shouldn't be too bad off. It's just I see a sort of kind of trail up here, and most of this is diagonal to the trail that brought me in. So what happened last time, near as I can figure, Lord, I fucking hate these damn grabber bushes, is they, you solid? Solid enough. I went off at probably about a 30-degree angle from where I thought I was, and I briefly got disoriented from that, as opposed to the stupid English who say disorientated, which is the incorrect speaking of the proper English. So we're going to hug this a little tighter today and go down, because this is looking a little better. I don't want to get chewed up any more than I really need to. And we'll go from there. But, because again, as long as we're right near this, you walk back the way out you came in. And that's pretty foolproof. There's your inevitable moose poo. I've already seen moose tracks. So that portion of our journey today is par for course. And we're going to get over here and then attempt some momentary photography. So we're going to do like a 10-second segment break since I'm in a clearing and have the opportunity to do that. And once I'm on more solid ground. Okay. So we're going to go over there, take a couple of vantage pictures, and take advantage of the ability to take vantage pictures, and keep going from there. But we'll be back in a few seconds. We probably covered about 30 feet. And we have a little bit of something in the way, but we're going to try to figure out a engineering way through this. And just gotta not so gracefully zigzag our way through that and continue in this direction. Trying, what the fuck was that? Something is in the wood line with me. I wonder if it was like yesterday, the only thing I saw in terms of wildlife the entire time in the Connecticut forest was a mouse, of all things. And something just ran off into the woodwork looking similar. So something bigger would be more obvious. Okay, so what we're gonna do, rather than last time we got all turned around and shit, we're gonna get to the far end of this and then see if there's a way around. But the one thing I already can tell you is it's likely, given the rain, that the odds of finding a way like across the meadow without being up to your waist or your nipples and muck is probably non-existent. So that is a pipe dream I'm not going to pin any hopes on. We're just going to keep... The reason why I like doing these like wood scramble ones, they tend to do a better job of keeping the rant machine in tow, because I really don't have any Bigfoot related rants today, which is refreshing for me, because I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm sure there's nonsense going on out there, but there comes to a point where you harp on it to a point where it kind of all blends together because there's that much of it. And just so I guess in a bit of a how shall we say, stealthily had conversation with somebody who was and or is a well-known Bigfooter. They had recently posted something to the effect of, you know, the whole respecting everybody's opinion, and it's a well-intentioned message, so I'm not gonna call this person names or anything. It's a well-intentioned message, but the reality is there's enough harmful white noise out there that I don't really know that that's a feasibility. And can you get around that way or no? Because the wall of nonsense is so thick. Once you start giving one a pass, it kind of just blends together, the nonsensical and the, I guess, semi-feasible. There are some out there who are Because the thing for me is most of the witnesses I've interviewed are legitimately not sure of what they saw. And they're not jumping to conclusions. They are asking in a balanced, level-headed way, maybe you know what this is? And they want closure on something that obviously bothers them to some degree. It's almost like playing the bartender role a little bit. But, you know, and unfortunately, the answer may end up being, well, we don't really know, and we may not ever know, but you're certainly lessening your chances if you give in to the nonsensical and you I mean, all the people that are making the clearly weirdo claim, like it's like beating on an easy target at this point, but like the Matt Johnson crap. And for anyone who has the slightest inclination to scold me on my own channel, you have to respect Dr. Matthew. Fuck you. No, I don't. He's clearly out of his mind. There comes a point with some of the extreme examples that you call a spade, and he's one of these people that is flat out of his mind. And I got to get a picture of that. He would have a fucking storm on the day when I wanted to actually get in here and do this. Anyway, we're going to take a quick break. I'm going to get some photos along the edge here and scenically back this way, and then we'll catch up in a minute, and we'll finish my thought on how nutty Matty Johnson is, because he is. And to all his followers, no, I haven't read his books. I'm not going to waste my time on his videos. He's nuts, and if you can't tell he's nuts, then maybe you need to have yourself evaluated as well. He definitely does. Anyway, we'll be back in a few minutes. With today's potential pipe dream, since we have an opening, we're at the edge. And if you look down there, you can already see where the water line begins if you look closely. Through there, probably in that direction, there is another pond system, and looking at the conditions of the day, I'm already kind of skeptical at my chances, but we're going to make our way over here and make a hard inspection of the area and see what my gut feeling is on how I can get over there or not. There were some dry patches, but a lot of this is going to be swampy because these lovely beaver meadows are basically ginormous sponges during periods of rain that you've had over several days. I mean, even the ground I'm walking on right now is in some spots soft to the point where I would call it kind of spongy. And mainly low-lying areas where the moisture collects more. And due to this, we are gonna, kind of with a skeptical eye, get over to there and then peek around the corner and see what my odds are of getting over there, or at least scouting for when I actually can pull this off. It's on the list. It's just if it's going through undergrowth shit like this, even though 200 yards doesn't really seem like a long distance, when you're going through shit like this, believe it or not, it can take you 20 minutes to cover 200 yards. Because it's like tenuous, slow progress. Because in the middle of the night, if you were running for your life from something, you're going to die. Figure out why. So, there's a clearing over here about 15-20 feet yay, and we'll make a determination how we're going to find a better clearing and make a determination how feasible this mission is today, given the fact I did not admittedly count on the rain level. I just kind of have to find an open patch that's more over here, and I think I see one. Moose poo, not to be stepped on. For all the times I come upon moose poo in the middle of this shit, I don't think I've ever actually stepped in any. That's ironic. So if I can get by this shit and get to the... I already see the moisture though, so this is going to be... Let me by. See if I can get out here. Alright, we're in luck. Let's have a look. Because if I'm right, they're over there, actually. The question is how painful is it going to be to get over there. Because going through this, I don't really know how feasible. I mean, if I can get out a little way onto this, but I guarantee you this is going to turn in a swampy, mucky, maybe not. It really comes down to, do you have enough of a moss layer to allow a little bit, because then you can look out a little ways. But I can already see there's like a water layer there. The other side's all mucky underground. I'm just trying to look through. What I could have used today, and I don't have, is my drone. That would have really been... I'm going to fall back because I'm already sinking in. We're going to kind of make our way along the wood line a little bit more. If I can do that without going back into the... If I can stay out here and keep a line, maybe I can work my way sort of over there and see. I don't think it's feasible that you're going to get all the way across the meadow on this mucky crap, but let's say for the sake of giggles, that's a nice scenic little thing over there, how far I can get, because I can always backtrack once we're there. I think this is getting swampy though. Let's see. Yeah. If I can kind of step, get over to where you see a rock, because then it's solider. So I thought, you step on that, that stuff pops up. So when I'm talking about walking through stuff and sinking in, that's kind of what I'm referring to. And oh, the smell. But what we need... Okay, I can see where... Here's an interesting thing about Google Maps. I'm going to try to see if I can get over here to get a better vantage point. The gateway into the pond over there looks like it's actually a lot closer. The thing is getting over there. So, seems like if I stay close to the edge and we don't hit a big swamp pocket, I can at least get a peek through. I'd really love to have the drone, because if you could get it up, like launch off of that rock over there, get it over there, you could see what you're dealing with more. Let's just continue our little... I think I'm going to stop here only because I don't see... Once it gets taller in there, it gets more unpredictable. Let's just have a look. So the ponds are over in there. And a lot of... So the ingress is going to be over there, because I think you can see where it's kind of more open. So you kind of make a diagonal over there. Question is these biting little bugs are... I don't think I can get there from here. I'm going to kind of fall back and look for an opening. Maybe over here. Over here. Literally right on the moose trail. Be careful not to step on that little newt guy right there. But now that I'm way over here, I also have to commit to staying right on the water line here so I don't get turned around again. And such. So let's bypass this, break him with our ribs, and let's get a good look first. There is some kind of a clearing over there. But that's what I would have run into right there. So we had to detour a little bit. But more moose poo. Excuse me. Just taking some quick mental notes where I am. And for the record, if I can't continue in a straight line, I'm going to stop at this point because I'm not going to go deeper into that and get turned around. Been there and sort of done that, but let's, for the record, I don't know what the hell that's poo, but from what, I don't know. Maybe more from this guy, but he had the runs. But right there, you also have deer strewn berries too, so apparently I'm in nature's toilet right now. Let's see. Yeah, you see over here it gets all swampy now. Not over there, but then I don't want to have to go all the way out there. Get up here on this rock real quick. Is that it gets watery over there too. There's like a stream thing you gotta jump. So I think for the sake of today, we're gonna get this far, and mainly not because of the terrain consideration, but the further in you go, because this is new territory. Because that wind was kicking up before. I don't know what the weather is. If you get a major downpour or something going on, I don't want to be stuck all the way out here necessarily. So we're going to take a slight segment break, start working our way back, although I'm going to look over here just to see how daunting this is going to be in drier conditions. You got a little stream over there, and then you have to kind of work your way through the thick stuff to get over to the thinner stuff. Like I said, I'm not going to... That looks pretty thick right there. I don't want to get turned around in that. Okay, we're going to take a quick segment break, and we'll be back shortly. We are kind of making our way back. I'm just not confident I'm going to get over there without getting turned around. So I got out my frustrations with a little target shooting and went through 5 rounds, and I'm on my way back now. So for anyone who was asking before, do you travel armed? In the past, I limited it to bear mace, but kind of like this year with a couple of things going on in my head, I have resolved to go out carrying because, well, I can. And although I've never run into a situation with an animal that I felt threatened enough I would have to engage it with lead, People, sketchy fucking people are another matter. Haven't really run into anyone overly sketchy to date really either, but that's not to say that having something that goes bang loudly kind of sends a message should you do so. And there's a certain peace of mind that comes with it, believe it or not. So, the question is, how far can I get around this where I can... Because you can walk around a decent amount of this, actually. At least in this direction. Going the other way, it looked like it was getting swampier. In the corner, it gets swampy. And so one of the ponds, there are like two of them that are conjoined. One is maybe just closer, or maybe that's not what I think it is, but I'm going to come back in right here, because right near the corner, I think. And what we're gonna do is follow this, because I really am not gonna lose the water line and dick around feeling lost again. That was not on the morning agenda, so we're not gonna do that, as I almost slip and wipe out into a split and cause other problems. But where I ran into trouble before was I kind of went off that way thinking I was closer to that than I was. And I came out, which is fine. But in practice, I don't like... that always opens up the possibility. You get turned around now. There's a trail junction not so far from here that... you can't work with what you have, but excuse me. Excuse me. But here, the water's right there. And as long as I stay right here, you are, for the most part, especially if you go high here, you're right adjacent to the water line. So it's basically a matter, excuse me, a little slow going back, but odd patch of color over there. It's not moving though. And having just popped off 4 or 5 rounds, it's not like you're sneaking up on anything. They clearly would know you're in here and that you have something with you. One thing you can say about a 38, it's not quiet. I've heard it said, and I tend to believe, that it is pound for pound against a 9mm louder. And for those of you wondering about the legality of shooting out here, as long as you're not near anyone, you're not near any buildings, and you're not putting anyone at risk, and you're not poaching, they have said that it is. It's probably not the precise wording, but more or less, basically, if you're firing in the direction of somebody walking down the trail, you are probably going to prison. If you have a little common sense about things, maybe not. I would argue in favor of common sense. Am I going into a stupid area right now? I don't know. The question is, can I kind of step around the low-hanging branches and bypass the deadfall in the tree? I think I can. And I did. Because I can just kind of bop by there. Because there is kind of a weird little winding path through here that leads me up here just beyond where I can actually see where I'm going. And not lose sight of the water, which is right there. Which is my sputtering noise that was meant to mean. Yeah, I guess I'm done with my Johnson rant too. Anyone espousing his teachings such as they are, immediate loss of credibility. We're going to move on. And at that point, don't waste my time. Okay, we need to be careful here because we're starting to go high, and that's what we did the last time. We're gonna bop and try to go low again. Because you're moving away from the low-hanging shit where you can actually see where you're going. We're not doing that this time. I think that was the mistake that I made the last time. And the demands of the trail kind of just kept nudging me that way. And because I didn't notice it immediately, I got turned around. We're not doing that today. We're not going to do that today. What I am going to do, however, since I'm kind of in between things to say on camera, we're going to take a segment break, cover some ground, and see what's on my mind when we get back to where I have something more on my mind. I'm going to take a mental break, pretty scenery. We'll be back in a bit.